and welcome to this week's Trucks. On tonight's show, Brian's leaving his yard for an altogether more glamorous location, the British International Motor Show, where he'll be taking a look at the latest commercials on the market. And we'll also be solving your problems in Truckers' Gripes. Now, I'm not into stereotyping, but I do love shopping, whether it's for a new pair of shoes, a new jacket, or the groceries. Well, maybe not the groceries, but I do love buying clothes. The biggest buzz that you're ever going to get from making a purchase is when you buy a brand spanking new car, and that's what we're going to do tonight.
Well, Helen, I don't think the budget's going to stretch quite that far, and this being the truck show, we're talking about trucks and vans. We're going to talk about the differences between buying all three, look at the pitfalls and get some insider advice.
Now, some of you might be wondering why on a truck show we're starting with advice on car buying. Well, the simple answer is that in order to draw a comparison between buying vans and trucks, we have to have a starting point. And what better place than with cars? After all, buying a car is as close as many of us will get to purchasing a commercial vehicle.
So, you've decided you want to buy a car, but how do you go about it? Well, to help me with that question, I've got Ken, who's got 32 years of experience in selling cars. Tell me, Ken, what advice would you give to someone who's buying a car for the first time?
Stop and think. Think about the long-term issues. Don't get yourself strapped into a finance deal which is going to take you into 4 or 5 years. Test drive the vehicle, make sure you're comfortable with it. Look at the offers that are available at the moment, but don't go into it blind, but be comfortable with everything that you do and think well ahead before you purchase your vehicle.
So what are your top tips for buying a car cheaper?
Obviously, you've got to barter. Nowadays, everybody barters with a salesman when they come into the showroom. The biggest tip, really, is if you want to buy a car cheaper, is towards Christmas time, because that's when sales are at the lowest peak, and that's the time to buy a vehicle.
There are 3 main ways that you can buy a car or a van. There's a traditional cash payment method, although this is becoming rarer as very few people have a large amount of disposable income. The second way is through finance, either through a garage or from an independent company. The final choice is a bit more complicated, especially when manufacturers call it by different names. Basically, it involves putting down a deposit, paying smaller monthly repayments, and at the end of the agreement you pay a larger final payment called a guaranteed future value, or return the vehicle with nothing to pay and start again. Who would have thought buying a car could be that complicated? That's it for the first part of our Insider's Guide to buying a commercial vehicle. But join me later when we'll be finding out if we can get ourselves a nice little deal. But for now, it's over to Brian, who this week is out on the road.
This time I thought we'd leave the yard behind and head to a new location, the International Motor Show. Okay, so it's at Birmingham. But don't let that put you off, there are some of the latest and newest commercial vehicles here. The National Motor Show is the UK's biggest car show. Exhibitors range from the exotic all the way down to the mundane. What you may not know is that the show is also a host to its fair share of commercial vehicles. Now, when you're thinking of a commercial vehicle, you'll be thinking of the Ford Transit. Now, this year is a very special year for the Ford Transit. It's its 36th birthday. Now, not many of you are going to remember back that far, just like me. The reputation of the Transit precedes itself. It offers low servicing costs, good used residuals and a high level of reliability. It's the kind of van that's recognised in the second-hand market as a good buy, and with plenty of models available, the Transit will take some beating to be knocked off its throne as the market leader.
Transit has always been the professional's choice, right the way back to when it was launched nearly 36 years ago. And Transit today continues to deliver what Transit has always delivered, which is durability, reliability, ruggedness that makes it the clear professional's choice.
Despite Transit's obvious talents, Fords have been lacking in the mid-range commercial vehicle market for some time, but not anymore, not with the new Transit Connect. The Connect is the new baby in the Ford family, sitting in between the Escort and the Transit, offering a choice of none, 1 or 2 sliding doors. The Connect offers great flexibility, plus an impressive payload of between 625 and 900 kilos. The Connect is an impressive package. The question is, will it make a significant impact in the market against the more established vehicles?
It's not a car-derived or MPV platform. This is designed to work as a commercial vehicle, day in, day out, over a period of time that'll be in excess of 50% more than you would get as a usable lifespan out of a car-based product.
No motor show would be complete without looking at another one of the major manufacturers, in this case, Vauxhall. Over the past few years, Vauxhalls have been going through a revamp with new launches from pretty much their elite range. There are the Combo, which we have recently road tested, the Vivaro and the Movano, with load capacities that are pretty impressive for their loads.
We've got one of the newest van ranges on the market, and you know, it's selling really well and we're doing really well. We're expanding the dual fuel range. We do the Combo and the Astra van, and we're going to be launching a Vivaro version of it. Vivaro is already very successful, and I think with the dual fuel version it will make it, you know, even more successful. That'll be sometime next year.
Over the last few weeks, we've road tested two of Volkswagen's best loved vehicles, the Volkswagen Caddy and the Volkswagen LT. The one we've managed to miss out though is the longest produced vehicle, the Volkswagen Transporter. The Transporter has been around since the early 60s, offering the basis for the much loved camper van. Powered by an air-cooled 4-cylinder engine, it was driven all over the world. Today the Transporter still offers great reliability and a good load space. Low loading, and it's another vehicle that offers good second-hand residuals.
Transporter's now reached its maturity. It has about another 9 months to go, and that will be the range of vehicles that is replaced during the middle of next year. But despite its tender age, we're having our best sales results with this product because it is the driver's favourite still.
Well, that's it from the Motor Show, but be sure to join us later when we'll be looking at the new Citroën and Peugeot. Back to Tim and Helen, and let's find out if they found a deal or not.
Well, Brian, we're still a little way off getting our final deal. And after seeing some of the vans you're looking at over there at the show, my final choice has just become a little harder.
One of the benefits of buying a van over a car is that many garages will actually have a business manager who specialises in commercial vehicles. These people are experts and they're to help you pick the right van for the right job, advising you on everything from finance deals to van accessories. On many occasions they will come to visit you, something that wouldn't happen if you were buying a car. So, we've already seen how we buy a car. The next thing is to have a look and see how we buy a van. Well, to help me with that question, we've got Anna, who's a local business specialist. Hi Anna, how are you?
Hi, fine, thanks.
Good. What do you feel are the main differences between buying a car and buying a van?
Well, as you know, when an individual comes in to buy a car, they're basically looking to purchase something that they really want, and they're probably spending the next largest spend they would have apart from their mortgage. But it's very different when someone's buying a van. They have got to choose something that is a workhorse that's going to do the job that they want to do, know that it's going to be reliable, and basically carry the goods that they need to carry and at a cost they can afford.
Okay, what advice would you give to them when it comes to the finance side of things?
Quite a few alternatives where business customers are concerned. The main one, obviously, people automatically think of is outright purchase. Then you have your hire purchase, and you have two different types of leasing that are available, one of which is contract hire. If, for instance, you were sat there today, Tim, and telling me that you were a small company just setting up and that you weren't VAT registered, I wouldn't recommend leasing. I would recommend that we look at other things such as purchase or lease purchase, perhaps.
Sales of light commercial vehicles have constantly been around the 80,000 mark for the last 5 years. Although the sales have remained quite static, the actual changes within the industry are quite marked. Gone are the days when vans were merely a box with wheels. They are now very technical and highly sophisticated workhorses.
I think nowadays with the more modern design of vans and being on a par almost with car design, van owners and drivers tend to expect the same refinement and comforts just as much as a car owner would.
Do you think car users treat their vehicles any differently to van owners?
Definitely, I'm afraid, yeah. The van owners tend to bang up the curbs, the servicing intervals are often neglected and misused, but it's a tool of the trade, I guess, and some people will treat it accordingly, some people will misuse them.
Although the principles of buying a van, such as finance and ordering, are very similar to that of a car, there are certain areas that you should pay particular attention to. First of all, do your homework. Think about what van is going to suit your needs.
How are you actually going to use it? Do you need a van with a large amount of space, or would you be better suited with a 4x4? Secondly, ask a lot of questions. Go to the dealership and ask them what repayment schemes would suit your business, what warranties are on offer, and what about residual values. Make sure you go to the garage and look at the van you are considering. Telephone conversations are one thing, but you won't be sure until you've seen the van. Make sure you test drive the vehicle. You might find it's too small for both you and your load. And finally, don't rush into anything. Go away and consider your options. There are many vans on the market that could meet your needs. See what other garages and manufacturers are offering.
So as we've seen, buying a van is a little bit different to buying a car. For a start, a van is a tool for getting the job done, whereas a car will get you to work. Now, if a van is a tool, then a truck must be the whole kit.
So join us after the break when we'll be trying to get our hands on some brand new trucks, and we'll be back at the British International Motor Show with Brian.
Welcome back to Trucks. On tonight's show, Tim and I are taking a look at the difference between buying a van or a truck to purchasing a car. Make sure you join us later to find out how we get on. Now it's time to go back over to Brian at the motor show. Is there anything that's taken your eye over there, love?
Well, Helen, apart from the lovely young ladies that are here today, we also have the new exciting Citroën Zara Enterprise. Buying a commercial vehicle doesn't mean that you have to give up the comforts and style of a car. With the new Enterprise, Citroën are hoping to attack both the commercial vehicle user and the estate car owner, who's looking for a little more space without losing their creature comforts. Another first for Citroën at the show is the facelift Berlingo. Since its launch in 1996, the Citroën have sold over 800,000 models, offering advanced door locking system, which automatically locks the doors at 6 miles per hour, an electronically linked audio system that increases the volume of the car's speed increases. The Berlingo is planning to build on its reputation as one of the cheapest small commercials to maintain.
The Berlingo is, of course, the #1 selling van in the country, so everybody else is in competition with us. And I think this car is going to keep us at the top because clearly it looks much more modern and stylish and make it very popular in the marketplace. It's comfortable and it's got a big payload, so it's up to the other competition to catch up, I think.
Also on the Citroën stand is the Dispatch. Building on its popularity and to face up to new competition from Ford's new Transit Connect, the Dispatch now offers a new 2-litre HDI engine with 110 brake horsepower and a facelift. Perhaps one commercial vehicle you wouldn't consider buying, unless you was a tree surgeon or a surveyor, would be a Nissan. But not only do they make 4x4s, they also make a very wide range of commercial vehicles. On offer from Nissan is the rather familiar Interstar. Now to the more eagle-eyed of you, it may in fact look like some other vans on the market. No names mentioned, of course. Also on the stand is the Terrano 4x4 van, with the flexibility of 4-wheel drive and now an optional automatic gearbox. The Terrano is an interesting package for those with jobs that are a little bit more demanding. Peugeot have always had a strong reputation for building cars, but now they're seriously moving into the commercial sector. And the new Boxster is going to make Peugeot's case even stronger. The new Boxster offers many advances over the previous model, with options like a cab reversing camera, satellite navigation, 3 advanced HDI engines and a 2-litre petrol option. The Boxster is more than ready to take on the king of the light van sector, the Ford Transit. The problem is overcoming the previous model's poor second-hand residuals. So there you go, even at a show dedicated to the car industry, there's enough commercial vehicles to go around to satisfy most anoraks. And on the plus side, you don't even have to trudge around a dirty yard to look at them.
Of course you're right, Brian. I wouldn't like to walk round a yard, especially with the weather like it is in this country. But of course today, I've been told to. But now it's time to move on to your problems and the problems within the trucking industry with Truckers' Gripes.
We all know that being a truck driver means you have to work long hours, but that doesn't mean you should have to dig yourself an early grave.
Tachographs were introduced as a way of monitoring drivers and make sure that everyone got their entitled breaks and stayed within respectable working hours. The problem was that not everyone did. But soon digital tachographs will replace the traditional tacho and make braking working time regulations even harder. But how do you feel the new tachos will affect you?
It don't really affect you until it goes wrong. But apart from that, it doesn't really affect. It's no different to a manual one, or it's no different at all. As long as you do it right, use it right, no problem.
Digital tachographs will have a far-reaching effect on the whole industry. Purely and simply by design, the tachograph itself is not as easy to use as the current tachograph that we have in our vehicles.
I think that'll be a good thing. I'll stop all the fiddling, which is what we want, isn't it? It's too many drivers run bent.
Being a truck driver hasn't traditionally been a very technical job. Even the trucks weren't very advanced 30 to 40 years ago. The cab then consisted of a bench and a steering wheel. Nowadays things have moved on with things like automatic gearboxes and GPS. The question is, what do you think about technology in your truck?
It's a good and a bad thing really, because the tracking system, I used to work for a firm, had a tracking system in, and they had a big map on the wall, if you got lost, I could push you straight into a place where you want to go, so it's a good thing and a bad thing,
Vehicles in this day and age, they need to be monitored in order to make sure that the haulier is getting the optimum out of his vehicle.
At the end of the day, we get paid to move cars, or anybody else gets moved their goods, whatever. We've got no certain things as time delivery as such, which is a bit easier for our job, So at the end of the day, you are watching Big Brother because of all the cameras and that's around the country, but really it doesn't affect me. So.
Technology has always been hailed as a way of making everyday tasks easier, and for the truck driver, this certainly has been the case. Gone are the days of back-braking steering wheels and refrigerated cabs. In their place are luxuries such as CD players and climate control. Despite some reservations over digital tachographs, the fact is they will benefit the industry. Illegal working practices will be easier to spot and make punishing the lawbreakers easier. So hopefully we've helped put some wrongs to right. And of course we'll be solving more problems next week with Truckers' Gripes. But throughout this show we've been taking a look at the difference between purchasing a car to a van. But it's now time to up the stakes. And I'm talking about size. Bigger in fact. And that comes in the shape of trucks. So the question is, what is the difference between purchasing a truck compared to a car or a van?
Car buyer tends to have a desire for a new car for lots of different reasons, status or whatever. With a truck purchase, it tends to be more of a forced decision in some ways, in that he needs a new vehicle to cover a new contract or to replace existing vehicles which are getting a little bit too old.
Now, although nowhere near as many trucks as cars are sold in the UK, selling trucks is still a very big business. On average, you could expect to pay around £30,000 for a 7.5 tonne truck, while a fully sized 44 tonner could cost you anything between £50,000 and £100,000. Now, if you bear in mind that last year 55,000 trucks and Arctics were sold, that's quite a lot of cash.
One of the major differences between buying a truck to a van or a car is the parts. I'm joined here by Simon, who's the parts manager. Hi Simon.
Hi.
How you doing?
Fine, thanks.
Good. Right, well, we've looked at car and van parts. Tell us a little bit how truck parts differ.
Obviously, I think the main difference is the actual physical size of the parts and the expense. Truck parts tend to be a lot more expensive than car and van parts.
One of the big differences in buying a truck is the after-sales care. Unlike car and van garages, where the service departments open and close at usual working hours, truck garages often stay open 24 hours a day during the week and 12 hours at weekends. In fact, sometimes more servicing is done at night than during the day, and they also offer something called impress stock.
Now, I've heard about impressed stock. What does that mean?
Impress stock is basically when we will put a stock of parts into a customer's premises so that he doesn't have to keep coming every day if he has a large fleet. We'll actually put the common fast-moving parts onto his shelf so he has them there on his premises.
How quickly can you deliver parts?
If we have the parts in stock, we can normally get them to customers within the hour on any one of our 3 delivery vans. If we have to order the part from the factory, then there is a guaranteed next morning delivery service.
Now the odds are that not many of us will be nipping out to buy ourselves a truck. After all, buying a car isn't particularly cheap, but if you are the owner of a haulage company, what financing packages are available to you?
We have obviously all the traditional funding methods in terms of hire purchase and leasing. In recent years there's been a great move toward off-balance sheet funding, which is contract hire. We are finding that probably something like 50 to 60% of our sales now are moving down the contract hire route.
Despite the differences in size, style and use, the way you physically buy either a car, van or truck are pretty similar. OK, so there are some variations in finance packages, warranties, and perhaps truck owners are given certain privileges that car drivers wouldn't enjoy. But when the lives of millions depend on your company getting products to shops, it's clear to see why.
That's just about it for this week, but be sure to join us next week when Tim will be seeing if the MAN L2000 really is man enough for the job.
And Brian will be testing out the new Nissan Interstar to see if it reaches the heady heights its name suggests.
And Tim and I will be heading down to Ford's Research and Development plant in Essex to see what goes into designing a commercial vehicle.